Imagine waking up tomorrow. You look outside your window. The sky is dark. Not because it's nighttime, but because the sun is gone. The stars are brighter than you've ever seen them. The temperature outside is already falling. And somewhere beyond the darkness, Earth is no longer orbiting the sun. Our planet has been thrown into deep space. No sunrise, no sunset, no seasons. Just one frozen world, drifting endlessly between the stars. But here's the terrifying question. Could humanity survive on a planet without a sun?
Earth doesn't just randomly leave the solar system. Something enormous would have to disturb its orbit. For example, a massive object passing through the solar system, or a gravitational encounter with another star, could theoretically alter Earth's trajectory enough to eject it. It wouldn't feel like Earth suddenly launched into space. There would be no giant explosion. Instead, Earth's path around the sun would slowly change. Until one day, Earth would cross the boundary where the sun's gravity could no longer keep it trapped. And Earth would become something incredibly rare. A rogue planet. A world traveling through interstellar darkness with no star of its own.
At first, you might not even notice. The atmosphere would still exist. The oceans would still be there. Cities would still have electricity. But the sun would appear to move farther away every day. Eventually, the final sunrise would happen. And after that, there would be no morning. No matter where you stood on Earth, the sky would remain black. The moon would still exist, but without sunlight, it would become almost invisible. And the stars? They would become the brightest objects in the sky. For the first time in human history, Earth would have a permanent night.
Here's where things get terrifying. The sun doesn't just give us light. It supplies almost all of the energy that keeps Earth's surface warm. Without it, the surface temperature would begin dropping rapidly. Within days and weeks, many regions would become dangerously cold. Plants would stop photosynthesizing. Crops would die. Food production would collapse. And eventually, the global ecosystem would begin falling apart. But Earth's atmosphere wouldn't freeze instantly. The planet itself still contains enormous amounts of heat. And beneath the surface, there's something even more important. Geothermal energy. Heat coming from deep inside Earth. That heat could keep some underground environments warm long after the surface becomes frozen. And that might become humanity's best chance.
The oceans wouldn't freeze solid overnight. The surface would freeze first. Then, slowly, the ice would become thicker. But here's the strange part. The entire ocean might never freeze. Deep beneath the ice, liquid water could remain because geothermal heat from Earth's interior continues warming the seafloor. That means, even on a frozen rogue planet, some liquid environments could survive, and life might survive with them. Deep beneath the ice, isolated from the frozen surface, ecosystems could potentially exist around geothermal vents. Life would no longer depend directly on sunlight. It would depend on Earth's internal heat.
For humans, the situation would be much worse. Surface civilization would collapse quickly. Agriculture would become nearly impossible. Most animals would die. Power grids dependent on surface infrastructure would eventually fail. Cities would become frozen ruins. But humanity might have one final option. Go underground. Imagine enormous underground habitats, heated by geothermal energy, with artificial lights replacing sunlight, and massive systems growing food indoors. Humanity could potentially survive inside sealed underground cities. But there would be a problem: energy. Every generation would have to produce enough food, heat, oxygen, and electricity to keep civilization alive. One mistake could kill everyone.
But Earth wouldn't become completely dead. In fact, something incredible could happen. As the surface freezes, the planet's underground environments could become more isolated. Microorganisms could survive for incredibly long periods. Some forms of life might adapt to the new conditions. And over millions or even billions of years, Earth could continue traveling through the galaxy. A frozen world, carrying an invisible biosphere beneath its surface. But there is one final question. Could Earth ever find another sun? Earth would continue orbiting the center of the Milky Way, just like the sun does. But it would no longer have a star nearby providing surface energy. It could pass close to other stars, and theoretically, another gravitational encounter could alter its path again. But finding another stable star system wouldn't be guaranteed. Earth could spend millions, perhaps billions of years wandering through space. A frozen planet with a black sky and a tiny surviving world hidden beneath kilometers of ice. And here's the strangest possibility. Earth might not need the sun to remain a world capable of supporting life. The surface could become a frozen wasteland. But deep underground, water could remain liquid. Geothermal heat could continue flowing. Microbial life could survive. And perhaps, if humans had enough technology, small underground civilizations could survive too. We would no longer be a species living on a planet warmed by a star. We would become something completely different. A civilization living inside a wandering planet. Imagine looking through an underground window millions of years from now. There is no blue sky, no sunlight, no familiar moon, only darkness. But beneath your feet, Earth is still alive. A tiny pocket of humanity is still breathing, still growing food, still telling stories about a time when the sky was blue and the sun rose every morning. Earth would have lost its star, but perhaps it wouldn't have lost its life. Because sometimes life doesn't survive by defeating the darkness. It survives by finding a way to live inside it. ToonTheory.